Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, welcome, welcome to our Wealth Wednesday workshop. If this is your first time joining us, we salute you with big hugs and kisses. And if you are coming back to join us again, we're so glad to see you again during this workshop. My name is Laura Gregory. I am the Economic Development Chair, and I'm here with my team, and we have a powerful presentation. We will be talking about budgeting and saving this evening. So on behalf of our chapter president, Sora Tally Red, again, we say welcome. And again, we hope that this information helps you in your financial endeavors. So let me just give you a little bit of background if you didn't join us for our first presentation. So our first workshop, we talked about entrepreneurship because you guys are going on a journey with us to create and build wealth. Our theme again this year is mapping the path to financial freedom and creating and building wealth. So our first step in our journey was entrepreneurship. How do we get to the extra funds, right? Multiple streams of income. How do we get that profit? Now that you have the profit, for those who heard the workshop last month, we're hoping that you started your business, started writing some things down, getting that into play. So now we're going to talk about how do you save and budget that profit as we continue to go on this journey. So before we get into introduction of the workshop and our presenters, we have a quick 30-second slide, ERT briefing, and we want you all to definitely read this in its entirety and make sure you govern yourself accordingly. So grab your notebook, your pads, your pens, your highlighters, because you are all in for a treat. Thank you. Sora Giselle is now here to present our introduction and the introduction of our presenters.
Good evening, everyone. Let's talk about debt. Some may say that all debt is not bad debt. After all, credit can be a lifeline during emergencies and a bridge to education and home ownership. However, uncontrolled debt can easily jeopardize a family's and community's financial well-being. Most Americans have a debt issue, which is often attributed to mortgages, credit cards, and student loans. And unfortunately, there are debt differences between white communities and communities of color that reinforce the wealth gap. Since creating generational wealth is the goal, we need practical tools and strategies to help us learn how to control our debt, budget our money, and build our savings. As the saying goes, knowledge is power, and you must first know how much you owe. Then you need to create a monthly budget that prioritizes paying your bills first before spending on a whim, like those daily trips to Starbucks or Friday night dates to Chick-fil-A. The reality is that you must make a commitment to save regularly and consistently. As my daddy used to always say, you can't let money burn a hole in your pocket. In other words, you must save and build an emergency fund to fall back on when life deals you an unexpected bill or an interruption of your income. And saving money doesn't have to be boring if you establish some financial goals that excite you. For example, I'd rather hold off on splurging for those red bottom shoes. That's probably gonna hurt my feet anyway, or the latest Apple product, and instead save for an extended stay in the Maldives. But this type of discipline requires you to embrace a practice of delayed gratification. It's not just about knowing how to control your debt, how to create a budget, and how to create a savings plan, but applying the knowledge so that you can truly enjoy the fruits of your labor and establish healthy financial habits that the next generation can learn from. Speaking of healthy habits, do you exercise for 30 minutes a day as recommended by health advocates? Our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, reminded us to get moving and improve our health. And remember, maintaining our health both physically and mentally is paramount to establishing wealth. So if going to the gym is not your thing and your knees are no longer built for running, try walking at a moderate pace for 30 minutes. Put on your walking shoes, grab that light jacket or coat, and get moving around your neighborhood, a nearby park, or perhaps a high school track. Commit to a healthier lifestyle and commit to controlling your debt. While I believe we can do both, the primary focus of tonight's financial workshop is controlling debt. My co-lead, Soror Teresa Alexis Williams, will now introduce you to tonight's presenters. Soror Teresa.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Teresa Alexis Williams, and I have the distinct honor of introducing our presenters. We're going to start off with Soror Lavita Hayes. She presented for us last year at our Destination Financial Freedom Seminar, and she's here again giving us a whole bunch of good information that we all need. Lavita Hayes received her bachelor's degree in accounting from Bethune-Cookman University and master's degree in public administration from Central Michigan University. Lavita retired after 37 years of exceptional federal government service as branch chief of financial management policy for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. She has assisted hundreds of clients in the past years in the financial and insurance industry and has given hundreds of phenomenal presentations and speeches. Lavita Hayes is a lifetime member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, currently associated with the Orlando Alumni Chapter. Her presentation is on creating a budget. Please welcome Soror Lavita Hayes Logan. I'm sorry, Lavita Hayes.
Hello, everyone. Wow, thank you so much for that really, really nice introduction. What we're going to talk about tonight, I tell you, with this, I want to thank the chapter so much for making sure that you are educating the community. Because what's so important is the education of the community. And I go back to like just a little bit about my story when I first started with this business, and I said, oh my goodness, I went through the big divorce, and I was just like, oh my gosh. It was like I didn't know what I didn't know, but what I knew was governmental accounting because I had been in there for 37 years. But when that big divorce came, I said, oh my gosh, I didn't know the power of knowledge when it came to, your personal, your debt, your insurance, and just everything that you have. So now my mission, my passion is to make sure that I educate the masses. And I tell you, my father passed away in 2019. And guess what? We realized my mom was exactly like me. Okay, so really, thank you so much, Anne Arundel County, for making sure that you continue to share this information. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about creating that budget, right? So when we're creating that budget, okay. When we talk about creating that budget, what are the benefits? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about what are some of the benefits of creating that budget? Well, here's a little bit of help. One thing that we talk about, and I've got that little monthly budget there, budgeting gives you a clear visual picture of where your finances stand each month. Take, for instance, me. I had no idea because guess what? The husband took care of everything. So I didn't have a clue, right? So now it's like, okay, I had to learn this. I had to sit down. I had to say, okay, Lavita, you're on a budget now. Things aren't the way that they used to be. So it gave me a clearer vision of exactly on a month-to-month basis. And also it helped, I love this one right here. It helps you to save money on the things that don't matter so you can spend on the things that do. So just like Giselle talked about those red bottom shoes that may hurt her feet now, okay, and spend it on something a little bit better because, you know, they're going to go out of style and everything, right? So let's spend it on something that really matter to you. That's the one important thing to do. And also it teaches you that financial discipline. Financial discipline is so key because on a monthly basis, you're going to see exactly where you are, right? So having that financial discipline is huge. And then, you know, when you look at that budget every month, it's like you're looking and saying, wow, actual facts. It requires you to face the actual facts of your financial situation. Because what do we always say? The numbers don't lie, do they? The numbers don't lie at all. So when you're sitting there looking at that budget on a monthly basis, look and see where you are so that you can expand on that. So another thing is and this is just continuing on with the benefits, it will help you to find ways, right, of finding money that you didn't think that you didn't have, right? So when you're looking at that, or, you know, that you were spending, so it does two things for you. Find money, okay? And then also you're going to figure out where you're spending that money on a monthly basis. And now it says, okay, you will learn how to live within your means. So when we talk about living with the means, remember that old saying, you trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? So guess what? You know what it is now, keeping up with social media. And we're on social media now. So it's like keeping up with social media because you're seeing everything on social media. So you're trying to keep up with everybody, okay? So look at that. So definitely, no matter what, live within your means. Budgeting helps you keep track so you can see your results. But most importantly, it gives you control over your money and your life so that you can have, just like Giselle, again, she was like, okay, I want to save money to go to the Maldives, right? Okay, so that way, guess what? You know what she's already thinking? She wants to control her life, right? It's all about controlling your life. So that's why that is so important, that you control your money so that you have control over your life and you're able to live your best life. And then here's another one. I love this. I always, with a lot of my clients, I will sit down with them on this personal financial strategy. And it has a QR code on here. So you can actually click on the QR code and you have a fillable sheet and you have one that you can just print out too. So just go ahead on and snap on the QR code. And this is a way where we're talking about how do I track spending? I love this one because not only do I want to find out, you know, all of your information, but you want to find out what are your concerns. It's very important to understand what your concerns are, okay? Not what my concerns are, but what are your concerns? What are your goals, right? So the first thing in preparing is that you want to know all of your income, okay? So, you know, we always talk about having so many multiple streams of income, right? So all of those streams of income, you want to put it on here. You want to put it on this sheet here. And then that way you can calculate all the expenses that you have. And I always talk about building that safety net. So important. A lot of people say, you know, have it 3 to 6 months. I always look at 6 to 9 months because you know why? What happened? What did we have? COVID hit, right? Right? We had COVID. So just think if people had an emergency fund set up, you know, because a lot of people lost their jobs during this time. So it was so important to have an emergency fund set up. So if you have one for 6 to 9 months, then that would be able to cover things. And also, when you're looking at this personal financial strategy, you're going to be able to set your short-term goals and your long-term goals. And the one thing I would say, look at this on a monthly basis too, because guess what? Things change, right? They actually change. So when you're looking at your goals, for like 1 year down the road, 5 to 6 years down the road, or 10 years down the road, you want to make sure that you keep that in your forefront, and then that you can move it whenever you want to. And also, there's so many, I like say you do this QR code, but there's so many tools that are out there. When you're Googling for your financial strategy and budgeting, lots of information out there on Google. Okay, so definitely make sure you get that QR code, so that gives you a fillable one. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about: what are some ways to decrease spending or increase income to meet my weekly savings? I tell you, when I had to deal with this one, I was thinking, okay, what things did I have to stop doing, right? So when you think about what are some of those things that you have to, decrease your savings, what is it? Number one, just cut down on your expenses, okay? Maybe you might not be a Starbucks person, but I tell you, Starbucks is pretty darn expensive, right? So if you want to cut down on some expenses, because I always love to say, it's not how much you earn that counts, it's what you keep in your pocket, okay? And it's thinking about, remember when we talked about keeping in your pocket that money that you found, okay, that you want to save in your pocket. And the other thing, become more frugal with other expenses and determine how frugal you want to live. So many times people buy these houses, right? And guess what? They buy the house and they have no furniture in it, right? Right? But guess what? They've thought about what they really wanted. They wanted that house. And then eventually the furniture will come, right? And I always love this one right here, where we talk about nowadays you should be more proactive in thinking about making money, right? Because I always say, I love the lady down there. I had to put the Black woman Forbes billionaire on there, okay, to say, hey, she's about making money. But guess what? Billionaires and millionaires have at least 7 streams of income, okay? 7 streams of income. Why you think I retired and started doing this over here, okay? I wanted some more streams of income, right? I want to be that person on the Forbes magazine saying that I'm that billionaire, okay? So you want to make sure that you look at that. Having those multiple streams of income are so important. And then too, it's like make more money when you can, while you can. So important, okay? Make it when you can, because you never know what may happen. Look at this pandemic that we had. So many people are not even able to go back to work, right? So that's why make it early, make it now, whatever it is, do it. And I just want to leave you with, you want to make sure that you have a plan of action. You can make a change. You can take charge of your future. One of the greatest miracles in life is that you can change your life by simply changing your mind. So with that, I just want to put up a thank you for everyone for allowing me this opportunity and for me staying within my 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was wonderful, wonderful, Soror Hayes. I have a few questions that were in the chat. One question was, what is a good percentage of your income that you should use for fund money, such as hair, nails, and Amazon, etc.?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And I want to start off by saying that fund money, you want to start off by paying yourself first, okay? Pay yourself first, do that 10%, okay? 10% off the top. That's what I have everyone to do. When I talk to them, do 10% off your gross, okay? Gross, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What does that 10% look like, okay? If it's at $10,000, okay? So then think about how much it's going to cost for your hair, your nails, and all of that, and think of what that figure is. That may be about 2% or 3%, but make that your budget and stay within that budget.
Got it. Excellent. And also, I think this may be about the same kind of question. What's a good percentage to put away, such as savings, 401, Roth, IRA? Can you,
Yes.
can,
Yes. On a lot of the company pension plans or the company, the 401ks, a lot of them match. Okay. So I always tell my clients, make sure that you put in at least the amount that they're matching. Okay. Because that is free money. Okay. So you don't want to give up the free money. But then the other money, you take that. Again, we're talking about that 10%. Okay. So that's a part of your savings also. So really, I would say the 10%, only put the amount that your company is matching. And, and start thinking about, if your company doesn't match, are there other vehicles out there?
Right.
Okay. Are there other things out there? So yes.
Okay. Is there a link that can be shared for the QR code? Because a couple of people wasn't able to get it. Is there like a link to that QR code that you put up?
I can probably get it and put it in the chat. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll get it and put it in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're testing my technology skills. Jackie, you may have to help me on this one.
That was a wonderful presentation. You continue to inspire and enrich our community with your knowledge and financial wisdom. We thank you so much for that presentation. Are there any other? Well, let's see. I don't see any more in the chat. We just want to thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. And we continue to have you come and work with us like you have in the past, this last year, as well as this year. Thank you so much, Soror.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So let's continue on our journey to financial freedom with our next presenter. We have Soror Deetra Watley. She is a financial writer and educator for more than 7 years. She is a D-Free certified coordinator and trainer for PGCAC, Prince George's County Alumni Chapter, and several financial cohorts in the DMV. Her specialty is debt management, being smart about no debt for African-American families. She's a board member of Life Incorporated. Life, which stands for Literacy Institute for Financial Enrichment, was founded in 2003. It is a 501c educational and charitable nonprofit organization that provides educational programs and resources to individuals, families, and youth. She is a lifetime member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Her presentation is on debt management. Please help me welcome Soror Deetra Watley. I think you're muted. Let's see. You're on mute.
Am I co-hosting? You have the presentation?
Yeah, are you ready, Deetra?
Yes.
Yes, hi, I just introduced you to our audience and we welcome you to our discussion. It's on you, you got it.
Okay, my presentation, do you all have it or do you want me to share my screen?
You can share your screen.
Absolutely, share your screen.
How is everyone today?
Oh, great. How are you?
And as the soror just mentioned, that I am a member of the of Life Literacy Institute for Financial Enrichment. I am a board member there.
Okay.
Today's agenda, I know I have 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to get as much as I can done, primarily with reducing your debt, sources to reducing your debt, understanding your high cost debt, and decreasing your expenses. When it comes to debt, You just really should just say no, as the presenter before me mentioned, with the budget and so forth. But really, we should just say no. But I know in lifetimes, that's just not possible to just say no to all debt. And as was mentioned, sometimes there could be good debt and there could be bad debt. But what is really debt? Debt is actually the form of really borrowing against your future consumption. You're borrowing against your future, against your children's future. And just not just having the money available because you're so busy trying to pay Peter and Paul. But by avoiding these high interest credit cards and other debt, you will likely have more money to spend later. And it's not likely you will have more money. You will have more money. But really, it's a discipline thing where we really have to avoid these high interest credit cards. Or even if we don't have the high interest credit cards, if we just have any credit cards, we want to be careful. The balancing act of our needs and our wants, considering what is coming in, where is our income coming from? Is it coming from salary? Is it coming from part-time income, rental income, settlement, divorce fee from child care, from child divorce, from a divorce, just from anywhere, or entrepreneurship, as was mentioned earlier. Where is your income coming from? What are you spending your money on? Is it food? Is it housing, utilities, taxes, healthcare, insurance, emergencies, just anything? So what happens if your left column, your salary, part-time income, and rental income, and any of your divorce settlements or any of your entrepreneur, but if that doesn't meet, if it's less than your expenses, what happened here? As you see, I have what? More month than money. And in our community, we've heard that quite a bit, more month than money. So how can we change, just really begin to change, some of these attitudes that we have towards money here? So as you see the income, you see the expenses. Financial issues that affect, and I kept torn between this slide here because I didn't really want to just say African American, the African American community, but because I really do think this really is viable to everybody. It's not just us. So I just really didn't want to just say this is how we spend our money, but we'll just say people as a whole. Impatience, current gratification. As today, it used to be the Joneses, now it's the Kardashians. Our instant gratification, we want it now. Our present bias, limited savings. Do we have that $1,000 saved? Do we have the $10,000 saved with the commas? Do we have commas in our bank accounts, or are they all 0.00 or negative 00? So limited or no investments. Besides our house, do we have mutual funds? Do we have other real estates? Casual spending, as someone mentioned, the Starbucks, the red bottom shoes, the UGG shoes, just the weekly shopping. If we're going to the mall, or no longer, it's not the mall anymore, it's what? Amazon. It's any of our online shopping. So this is what can affect us, those low credit scores. I know you've heard about those low credit scores, that high debt load, low retirement savings. Are we saving what we're matching? If it's 3%, 5%, are we even saving to that point? These are all factors that can affect how much money we have. Poor consumer loans and mortgage loans. We know they've drafted us there where we've had, they haven't given us the best rate, when we have not received the best rates. Limited wealth because of the generational wealth. So these are things that can affect African Americans, but as well as anyone. So how do we begin to tackle these items? The fees, our ATM fees, services we don't need, are calls for services that can be reduced. Our insurance premiums, our car premiums, our healthcare premiums, just whatever kind of insurance we have, life insurance, interest charges on our credit cards, Those fees, are you overpaying? Are you paying late? Are you just paying the minimum where you have those interest charges on our credit cards, on our mortgage rates? Are we renegotiating those fees? Evaluate our lifestyle pattern. This is so important, evaluating our lifestyle patterns. Do we need, we've moved into our first house, but do we really need to move into our second house? Do we really need that second and third car? Do we really need the car that everybody else bought? These are things how we can begin to think about our lifestyle. Can we learn to say no? We don't need everything else that our soul walls, our friends, or our family. We can learn to say no. So if we learn to say no, we can begin to think about what is eating up our cash. Why do we always have more month than money? How can we modify what we do to save our money so that we can have more money than month? Ways to stop our cash flow leaks. Can we leave our credit card at home, or can we just take that one credit card? Do we need a credit card? Can we use a debit card? Can we pay off that balance each month? Can we pay that $200, $300, $400, $500, or that $1,000 each month? Do we have to let it carry over? As we pay off our debts, are we setting new payment amounts for the remaining debt? Comparison shopping. Are we looking at different stores? Comparison shop. Are we looking at, if we're buying a washing machine, we need a new washing machine and dryer. Are we looking online? Are we going to Lowe's? Are we going to Home Depot? Are we just buying the first one? And that could be with our clothes as well, not just with our large purchases. How many of us have learned to say no to our kids, to our friends, our relatives? We do have a big heart. So where we do have our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, everybody coming to live with us, what happens there? We get overwhelmed. Not saying that we don't want our relatives to live with us, but we want to be smart about our lifestyle. We want to learn how to say, we want to be able to say no. We may not be able to welcome everybody, into our households, but it just depends on, what your budget is. Determine if you can claim more exemptions to increase your take-home pay. You don't want to claim 10 and then you end up on thousands on your income taxes when they're due every year. So you do want to be smart about it. So really, these are just ways we can just begin to just stop that cash flow leaks. We can identify our needs and our wants, track our spending, divide our expenses into categories. As the presenter before me, when she had a sheet that listed, our fixed expenses, our flexible expenses, our discretionary expenses, pay our bills on time or before time, reduce those fees and those interest payments by doubling up on those payments. So instead of $200 to your Visa, you may want to pay $400. The interest does make a difference. Some credit cards let you negotiate lower interest rates. I'm not going to say all of them do, depending on what your situation is. You can be a savvy shopper. You can make trade-offs. Now, let me also say this: being a savvy shopper, we have to be careful with that, because we can be a savvy shopper and we still shop at all the sales and we still have no money. I mean, I think all of us may be guilty of that, so we can be savvy, yes, but we still overspending. So savvy shopper may be, we just may not need to spend anything at all. Review our insurance, our home insurance, our car insurance. Do we need the rental car insurance? Especially if you have that third car. What part of the home insurance? Do you need the flood insurance, depending on where you live? Do you have to insure everybody that's in the house? Can your daughter, son now afford their own car insurance? Save on transportation. Some of us are able to telework more now, since 2020, the pandemic. Some of us are going in. It just depends, but you may be able to save. Get frugal about food. Do we need to buy everything? Do we just need to buy our fruits and our vegetables and let that be it? Maybe we might not need the meats or whatever. We can just think about how we want to spend our food. Economize on our utilities. 68, really the degree for the winter is really 68 and 72 during the summertime. Can we live on 68 degrees in the house? Personally, I know I can't. I know I like it at 70, but these are just things that you can, economize. Hold the line on your home telephone. Do we need the home telephone? Save on your cell phone services. Does everybody need to have a phone? Can everybody pay their own bill? The line on your home telephone with the TVs, the cable, satellite, internet services. We have more smartphone. We have more of the smart TVs now. We may not need the cable on all of the TVs because you have the smart TVs where you can decide whether you really are a Netflix fan or whether you are a YouTube TV fan. You can think about how you really view. HBO Max comes with AT&T, so I get HBO Max free. So this is how we can begin to think about our costs. Tips for travel and entertainment. I have a lot more friends that wants to travel now. Those who have gotten to that age 50 and beyond, I'm noticing that they want to travel more. So do we have a budget? Do we have the budget? Or can we begin to say no to our friends that we can't make it on every trip? We may have to plan our trips, our 2 trips for the year. We may not be able to go on all 3 or 4 trips that all of our friend groups are going on. So these are just things to consider. Be creative with our monies. Our debt reduction plan. So we talked about how we can reduce our debt. These are 2 plans, establishing our debt reduction plan. The snowball approach. What do we do there? We pay off that smallest balance. You have the Kohl's, you have the Target. Well, if you know you're charging on those every month, if you've let that balance build up, let's pay those smaller departmental cards off first, so that when you pay the Lowe's, I'm just naming just some of them, when you pay them off, you do not have to worry about the interest. So you pay that off first, and then you pay off that Visa that may be 5 or 10 or 15,000, whatever the amount is. Then you pay that off. You still pay it, but you just get rid of the small, because if you have the $200, $500 that you do owe, now you're able to just get rid of that $500 debt. And now that $500, you've gotten rid of that now rolls into that Visa. That's now $10,000, $20,000. That's how you begin to pay off those smaller balances first. So then by the time you look at, you start now, this is October, November, the month before Christmas, if you want to do that before the Christmas holidays. Well, then if you look at November 10th, 2021, and then you look at yourself from November 10th, 2022, then you can look at and see how much you actually paid off. Like, oh my God, the $500 I was spending on interest, I've now saved that. I've saved that money, or I've now paid off another credit card. That's the snowball. Start small and it just builds up. The avalanche approach. This is where you pay off that highest interest rate. You got that 14% interest rate. You have a 14%, you pay that off first. This is what you decide, whether you want to pay the small one or whether you want to pay the big one. 14, you pay off that highest one first. It may take you a year because that balance is larger, if that's the case. Or it just could be the highest interest rate, but the balance may not be that big. So avalanche, it could be a big balance and a big interest and a big interest rate, or it could be a small balance and a large interest rate. But then you decide, you have to look at your finances and see which approach is going to look better, is going to work better for you. Look critically at your purchases. You know, do you really need to buy that? Is this the highest and best use of my dollar? Is it important enough to take money away from my goal? Can I get or achieve the same thing for less or no money spent? These are ideas. This is what you have to think about. You want to begin to think critically about your purchases. Many of us were in the, during the pandemic, many of us remodeled our homes. Now, whether it was the bathroom, whether it was the kitchen, the bedrooms, the carpet. Okay, well, now those bills are starting to come and you're starting to see the bills like, oh my God. But we did do a lot of that. So did we budget that? Or do we have enough money set aside to actually pay for all these home expenses that we did over the course of the last year and a half? But can I go on a spending fast? Buy only the necessities. What's a necessity for you? Food is a necessity for you. Transportation or gas, is that a necessity for you? Buying a new suit, a new outfit, is that a necessity? Do we really need a new suit? Are we donating our old clothes? Are we selling our clothes that we no longer wear? Are we selling them online? What are we doing? Are we keeping 10 years? Are we keeping our clothes from 10 years ago? So this is what we begin to think about. If we're keeping them, are we wearing them? So as we cleaned up in 2020 and 2021, because we were all home, did we donate a lot of stuff? So these are just things we want to think about. 2 strategies for reducing our debt. As I just mentioned, that snowball, that's when you pay off that lowest balance, the high cost debt first, pay off the debt with the highest cost. You have to weigh it. You see the scale. You decide what's going to work best for your budget. For your budget, that could mean, do you need additional income? Sometimes it boils down to that, because you've looked at your expenses, you've looked at your income, and sometimes you just really need more money. You just need a raise, or you just need a new job. Consider that, or you may need a part-time job. It's okay to think like that, to think that way. Advantages, you definitely will progress faster. Disadvantages, you may pay more money because you're paying the smaller one first. Lowest balance, list the debt, lowest balance to the highest. Pay amount due, make any extra payments on that first debt if you can. After you pay off that first debt, make extra payments on that next debt. Continue, you just continue as needed with that. This is I don't know if you can see that, but that's a YouTube. I can put that in the chat. Your high cost debt second, you save more money. Progress may feel slower. It really may feel slower because you got a 15,000 credit card balance, and then that one has a 15%. You really may think like, am I really getting it done? Is it really helping? So you really got to think about that, because that could be psychological. Like, dang, I've been paying this credit card off for the last 5 months, and it doesn't seem to be going down. Balance transfers, that may be an option. Highest cost to you to the lowest pay amount on each debt, make extra payments. Same thing as the avalanche. Understanding your high cost debt. The result of the small dollar short-term loans with costly fees, high interest rates. There are risks and benefits of all financial products and services, including your high cost debt. Your cars and your vehicles. Loan for a small amount of money for a short time. Your vehicle title, that's the collateral. Single payment loans, often due in 30 days or 45 days. This can be very expensive if you're looking at that new car. The payday or the payday advance loans. This is a lot in our community, and where they put those payday stores in our community. So where the interest rate is like 500%, 200%, you'll never get out of debt with that. So if we can avoid the pawn shop, we can avoid the payday loans, let's avoid any of those. Because like I said, that's 20 to 50% that they consider your item to be worth. Repay the loan, renew it, or lose the item when you're working with pawn shop loans. Some sources to reduce your debt, like I said, your income tax refunds. What are you doing with that? Did you receive that inheritance? When you received that inheritance, did you spend all of the inheritance? Or were you smart about the inheritance and pay off some, save some? Now pay off all the credit cards with that inheritance you received. Have you received an increase in your wages or salaries? Sale of any of your personal assets. You might not need that car. You may not need that third car. You may be able to sell that car. Your kids are gone. You may send the car with them or sell the car. So these are just things that we can look at. Contact our creditors if we're really having issues to discuss a payment schedule that we can afford. Try to get our rate lowered or a different plan that will work out. Some credit cards will do that, some won't. Don't take on new debt. Stop using the credit cards. If you know you're spending like $500 a month on spending whatever your spending is, then hold yourself accountable for that. Don't go charging anything over that $500. Transfer your balances to cards with lower interest rates. This is a tricky one. The transfer balances, you can get into a perpetual loop with that because every time that balance is due, you now go find another credit card. Okay. So if you cannot get into that transfer balance, stay away from it and just really, really work to pay that off. Because I'm telling you, with those transfer balances, you can get into a perpetual loop. You'll just be like transfer, and you still have the same amount at the end because now one credit card is now zero, and now you have this now have a zero balance. You're like, okay, I can go charge this, and then while you paying off one, so you're paying off one, but you're still charging up another one. So that is a psychological one. So I'm going to say stay away from that transfer balances if you can. If you are going to do it, be smart about it with the transfer balance to the cards. Be aware of your credit card. Be aware of those credit card rates and fees. Pay in advance. Pay when you have those. Also, when you have those, if you have a balance on your card and you're trying to pay it off, they do charge you. You're going to get charged interest on the purchases that have already made. So you want to be careful in how you look at those interest rates. Like, okay, so I'm trying to pay this off, but they charge me $50, $60. So you just want to just begin to just pay that balance off. The more money you can pay off, the less you have to pay in those fees to any of these credit card companies. Should you ask for help? Many nonprofit debt counselors, you got to be careful with these, okay, across the country for a low fee or at no charge. Please be careful. Not all of them are great. Some of them, they will try to make a profit on you. So you've got to be careful in what type of debt counseling services you are using. Don't give up. Reducing your debt, it is challenging. It is. But don't stop trying. It's one of the most important things you can do for a better financial future. The presentation before me, she talked about creating that budget. The presentation after me is talking about saving. I'm talking about just begin to think about you not wanting to spend as much as you've been spending. So instead of spending $100, you may just spend $25. So that's how you begin to reduce. You just don't buy everything that you normally buy. These are your three: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. If you have Credit Karma, that's just something that just gives you, it really does tell you how much you do owe. I can't say that the score is actually right, but it does let you know how much you really do have the Credit Karma. So I really do have that. So I do kind of, and that's how I can kind of look at the percentages that you owe. Because as they do say, you want to get below 30%. You know, you don't want to be on 40%, 50%, you know, so you want to be careful in how much you owe in your credit cards. For your free credit report, this is the number, this is the address if you want your annual free credit report as well. Any questions on anything? I think this is what I've covered. Let me just stop here and go back to the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was so excellent, Soror. There were a lot of questions coming up in the chat during your presentation. Thoughts, people had like a lot of thoughts about what you were saying, agreeing on everything that you had presented. One question was, and this might be a three-part, what's a good way, and you may have answered it, what's a good way of paying off debt? What should you tackle first? How do you prioritize which debt to pay off first, especially if you have multiple credit cards? Does it make sense to consolidate credit cards and pay it off?
It depends. It really, there are many strategies. Let's list all of the credit cards, so all 10 of your credit cards that you have, and let's list in the spreadsheet or how you're going to list what you owe the least. We'll put the least up top. Let's put the least up top. When is that due? Because that's the snowball method. So if you pay off that $500 or $200 ones, if you pay those off first, then that money now gets rolled into the second I'm not going to say not to do a transfer of that, but you have to be careful about that because I don't want you to get in that perpetual loop. So let's list everything that you owe. One thing, like I said, you may have more month than money. If you have more month than money, then you may really have to get a part-time job, and it's okay, whether it's a part-time job or whether it's a new job, because you really fundamentally may need some more cash because that could really help you. So keep that option open as well, because right now you make 50,000, but your expenses are 75,000. You need some more income. Listen, you need some more income, and sometimes it's just really about that, getting that income. But let's list everything first. Remember, it was the high cost plan and it was the snowball. Snowball, you pay off that smallest amount first. The high cost one, you pay off the highest first. You may become patient with that highest first because you're like, okay, I'm paying this 15,000 and I'm only at 10,000. Whereas if you pay the 5, that's under 500, you knock those out the way, then you now have 2,500 that you can now apply to your other credit cards.
Got it. Absolutely. When paying credit debt, how much of a payment monthly do you suggest making monthly?
Pay more than the minimum.
Right.
Look at your statement. No, that's the Washington. Look at your statement so you can see. When you look at this statement, this is the one. This is a zero balance. I'm not sure. But when you look at that statement, and you find where they tell you it's not on this one. If you only make the minimum payment,
right,
how much you will pay for 3 years or how much you may pay for 10 years. So read this. Start looking at this. Start reading that. Don't just look at it, throw it away, and pay it online. Start looking at what that real interest. This is one. Start looking at what that real interest is. Where this one, it tells me if I pay off only the minimum, it's going to take me. This is how much it will cost if it take me 30 years. This is how much it will cost me if I pay it off in 3 years.
yes.
Start looking. Look at this. Start reading that, because like I said, when you have the ones and then you charge every month on it, then when you look at the bottom of it and you see that purchase, how much they're charging you for the purchases of that. So if this one is 10,000 or 15,000, let's start. This is the one you can have a plan to pay off. Can you do both at the same time? If you make enough money, you really may be able to do both at the same time. Will you be able to go to the convention next week? Or will you be able to go will you be able to travel with your girlfriends that you want to? You may not be able to do that this year. It's okay. You may have to begin to say no to your friends. You may have to begin to say no to your family. You may have to begin to say no to yourself, so that this will be 0.00.
Got it. Excellent. Great information. There's a few more questions in the chat, but I'm not sure if we have enough time or do we need to go to our next presenter. But I just got a wealth of information from you, and I'm just so happy that you have the opportunity to present this kind of information to us. Our community needs to hear this information. Sometimes as parents, we try to tell our young adult children and so forth about the same thing. But when I hear it from someone else, I know I'm not crazy, and I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing. You just touched so many issues when it comes to people, younger people, especially to me, when it comes to having good financial, smartness about them and making the right decisions when it comes to car loans and payments and things like that. So I just think that what you've given us is a great insight as to where we need to be going in terms of managing our debt. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think later we'll have an opportunity to make sure that we have our presenters' contact information on, but I should be moving on to our third and our final presenter. She's last but not least, Miss Jatea Mullen. She's our next presenter. She is an assistant branch manager of M&T Bank with 12 years in the industry. M&T Bank Holding is an American bank holding company headquartered in Buffalo, New York. It operates 780 branches in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Connecticut. M&T is ranked 462nd on the Fortune 500. With a community bank approach, M&T Bank helps people reach their personal and business goals with banking, mortgage, loan, and investment services. They provide banking, insurance, investments, mortgage, and commercial financial services through more than 700 branches, 1,700 ATMs, and a variety of online and mobile services. Ms. Jatea Mullen will present on creating a savings plan and controlling debt as well. Please welcome Ms. Jatea Mullen.
Hello, everyone. I am thankful to be here. Thank you all for this opportunity. And yes, I am excited to jump into a savings plan. And I wanted to start by just highlighting the state of our country now. And like one thing I did research was there was a poll in a survey in 2020, and basically 64% of our millennials live or admitted, or they said that they shared that they live paycheck to paycheck since this pandemic. So this is very important, very, very important. And 47% ran out of their emergency savings during this time, and 67% regret not having more saved for pre-pandemic, before the pandemic hit. So this is very important, because had we taken those necessary steps, there could have been preventative measures so that people weren't so distressed financially. And so I want to take this opportunity to see how we can build up the savings and also be committed and just be accountable, because I feel like that's a big piece, is the accountability. A lot of people, I myself sometimes too, struggle with accountability with sticking to your commitments. So we want to explore some tools and some methods to help keep yourself accountable. Even if you feel like you can't keep yourself accountable, we got tools out there that's going to help you. Okay. All right. So let me jump into my presentation. See. And okay, Zoom, let me share here. Sorry, guys, I have to put my password in, so 1 second. There we go. I thought I did this. Okay, well, my MacBook is so secure right now. It's like not wanting me to share, but let's see. Here we go. There we go. Okay. All right, so the first slide I have for you is, many of you might know this rule already. It's the 50-30-20 rule. I hope you can see my screen. The 50-30-20 rule explores how you can budget. And this is one approach to setting that money aside for savings. So no more than 50% should be used for your needs. So in your needs category, in your budgeting tool, whatever tool you're using, when you write down all those expenses and you go through your expenses, no more than 50% should be of your income should be used on needs. Then you have 30% of your income used for your wants. So, you know, that's if you are gonna spend money on lunch or, you know, going out to eat, you want to budget no more than 30% on anything that's a want, something that's not a necessity. And that is also going to change based on your debt as well. So the 20% at the top is going to be used for savings and or debt repayment. I feel like these are a little bit fluid because if you are someone who is living paycheck to paycheck and the excuse you hear all the time is, oh, I don't have enough money to save. You know, I don't have enough money after I spend my paycheck to save. Well, first let's savings and budgeting go hand in hand. Let's start with a budget and let's see what you're spending your money on, because a lot of it may not be a necessity, things that you can cut back on. So let's look and see how much of your income you're spending. An example I like to use, just throwing it out there, is if you make $3,000 a month, and you're spending $1,500 on your needs, that's $600 to your savings and $900 to your wants. That $600 is equivalent to $7,200 a year. So put that into perspective, you know, breaking it down like that, you know, that $600 per month, and figuring out how you want to hit that number. Okay, if I need to save $600 per month, let's look into doing your direct deposit directly into that savings account, taking that out. So if you're getting paid bi-weekly, $300 per check going into that savings account through your direct deposit. Or if you're not able to do it through direct deposit, maybe you have other sources of income that cannot split your direct deposit like that, you can do an automatic transfer from your checking account into your savings account of $300 every 2 weeks. So we want to make a habit of savings. Decide on the amount you want to save each month and stick to it. That's what I'm talking about. So if it's at $600 a month, then let's stick to it. I already mentioned using automatic savings. That will help you keep yourself accountable, because it will go there. You don't have to worry about any excuses. You don't have to worry about any hiccups. As long as you have budgeted for this dollar amount, you know that, okay, I have $600 in my budget that I can save. Stick to it by keeping yourself accountable, by setting it as automatic. So that way you can ensure that you meet your savings goals each month. And of course, limit your spending. So spending less can add towards how much you have available to save. You can cut back on many things that isn't a necessity, but it's just about that discipline. And I'm also going to share some other tools at the end on what I use personally to help discipline my spending. So we're looking at short-term goals for savings. That's anything less than 3 years. So that could include the 3 to 6 month of living expenses that you want to save up for in the event of like this pandemic. But as the first presenter mentioned, you might want to do 6 to 9 months in your savings account, because you don't know if something like this is going to happen again, where you're unemployed, or where the unemployment rate is sky high and you have to dip into your savings account more. So you want to make sure that you keep that automatic savings plan going until you hit that goal. Once you hit that goal, then you can allot that money into another category. You can allot it back over to your wants, or you can allot it towards a midterm or a long-term goal. So I look at the short-term goal as your emergency savings, like your 3 to 6 or 6 to 9 months of expenses. Anything that you're going to pay in the near future, your midterm goals, or anything between 3 and 10 years. That could be buying a car, a down payment on your home, or paying off all your debt. Long-term goals, saving for retirement, of course, and paying off your mortgage and creating a college savings fund. So as I was mentioning, if you have an automatic savings plan for $600 to save every month, and after a year, you met your 3 to 6 month emergency fund, you got $7,200 in your account. Say your monthly expenses are about $2,000. You've already met your short-term savings goals to set up your emergency fund. Now that $600 that you were putting there, you can add that towards your midterm savings goal or your long-term savings goals. So that way you can start, or you can do both. You could do out of that 600, 300 towards your short-term goal, 300 towards your mid or your long-term goal. It's just budgeting where you see fit, what makes the most sense for you. Okay, and I'm going to show you, let me escape out of this. Okay. There we go. All right, so back here, these are some of the tools that I use and some things that we have available here at M&T is our M&T Money Mentor. I also have links to share at the end of this as well in the chat. This is where you can go, and it will go through presentations, like little 5 to 10 minute things about savings and financial education. So this is a good tool that I use for financial education as well. And then we also have, there's Mint, and there's also, so if you have a bank account, regardless of where you bank at, they have, most banks have this or something along the lines of this. M&T, here at M&T, we call it Money Smart, M&T Money Smart. And it basically helps you commit and stick to those budgets and your savings. So it's included in your banking app. All you have to do is go in and if you have all your accounts at one bank, great. It's going to pull everything in there. It's going to show you what you're spending your money on. It's going to put things into perspective and help you see where you need to cut back. And you can set budgets for different categories, and it'll remind you, hey, you're getting close to this budget, so it can keep you accountable. So this is the one that's included in M&T, but there is also Mint. This is a third party. They do the same exact thing. I've used this one as well. I'm not just 100% committed to everything M&T, but anything that can help financially. Mint will, like I said, do the same thing, set up those budgets to help me stay accountable and remind you when you're getting close to a budget. So if you need more accountability, like something like this will help in doing that for you. So that way you don't have to try to do all the work yourself, all the mental work yourself. You have tools out here to help set up those budgets and keep you committed to your savings goals so that you can buy a house, so that you can buy your car in the future. I'm going to stop sharing here and open it up for any questions. So I do see some questions in the chat. I don't know if you want me to take over the questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. I know I couldn't unmute for a second there. Yeah, sure. No, it's no fine. You can go ahead. I saw a lot of comments that was great, like the tools, like those apps that are helpful to many people, especially again the younger people. Really helps them stay focused on their goals in terms of managing their money. But yeah, let's see, what else what other questions out there? Yeah, mostly comments.
I see a question here. It says, is it better to put a large down payment on a car or
Oh, I
not?
see that. I see that. Okay.
Okay, so if you apply for a car loan, and first of all, I don't agree with letting the dealerships just run your credit everywhere, because they're putting inquiries on your credit report for every single one they put the credit through. If you go to a dealership, I would say, first of all, make sure you have your own financing. Go to your bank. You can shop around, but don't let them just put your credit through to all these unknown places, all these unknown banks, just to see which one will give you a lower rate. But if you know your credit, first of all, before you apply for anything, know your credit. If you know your credit, you know your credit is fair and or pretty good, if you have a pretty high score, then you know your interest rate is going to be lower. So if your interest rate is car loans, it's one of the lowest interest rates you can have. Anything that's collateralized. So if you're taking out a home equity line of credit or a car loan, anything that's using something as collateral, those interest rates are going to be usually very, very low. So if your interest rate is already low and you're doing a shorter term, you don't necessarily have to put a huge, large down payment on your car. If that will deplete all of your savings. But if that's what you specifically were saving for, then yes, if that was your goal, I'm going to set this goal of saving $600 a month so that I can buy a car and use that for my down payment, then yes, that's what your savings was intended for. So it served its purpose. I encourage you to have multiple savings accounts so that you can have each one set up for that purpose. This savings account is for my emergency fund, so I'm not going to touch that unless there's an emergency. This savings account is for my car I want to buy in the next 2 to 3 years. So any money in that savings account is for your car specifically, and that's when you would use or deplete those funds when you're ready to purchase that car. So it's a matter of the time frame that you set when you started saving, how much money you had saved up to put as a down payment on that car. And again, if it's something that, oh, that's my timer. If it's something that makes sense to you, because it is important to not deplete all of your savings, because then you have to start over again in rebuilding that savings account if it's coming out of your emergency fund. You don't want to deplete all, you want to have something to still fall back on. You don't want to deplete all of your emergency savings.
One question I see, when using Mint to assist with budgeting, has anyone had any problems with your personal information not being secure?
Yeah, so I understand that some people have concerns with it being all in your business. You know, it's all in your business because you have to, especially as I mentioned, like if you're using the M&T's Money Smart, which does the same thing. If you bank with M&T and all of your accounts are there, yeah, it's pulling in all your spending. But if you bank elsewhere, it's not going to pull in the spending that you're doing there. It's not going to pull in the income that you're getting sent over to that account. So you have to grant permission for that app or that program to pull in that info. Same with Mint. So Mint is asking your permission. It's using your login. And in my experience with it, I haven't had any problems with it because it's just like a banking app where they are highly encrypted to be secure. And so I'm not going to say to anyone that everything is 100% safe. It's a matter of your comfort level. When you do try to log in or link the other banking accounts to Mint, it takes you directly to like your bank. Your bank will ask you to log in, and do you want to link this, yada yada yada. So it's taking you through the direct channel to your bank. I feel secure with it. I know, and I know people put it into, I put into this perspective, like, you know, we're just small fish out in the sea. The crooks and criminals are out there, but what are the chances that they're like in the computer trying to hack into your information at that point in time, in the exact same moment? Like, they would literally have to have already compromised your device in order for them to get that info. They're not just out there in cyberspace, just remotely trying to get into your info. There would have to be some sort of breach where you clicked on some phishing site and you clicked on this phishing link that downloaded the malware into your computer, or you have a scammer on the phone that's telling you to grant them remote access to your device or your computer. Those are the, and I see it all the time in my line of work where customers' information was compromised and those are the main ways, because the scammer is on the phone duping them, and you have to grant them permission to get into your device to get your banking info. It's not just out there in the internet for people to just grab. Or you clicked on a phishing link. Put your information in there, and now they have your login info. So in my book, is it safe as safe can be? But again, by all means, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, I won't recommend forcing anything on anyone. I would just do something that's more analog, just keeping it written down, or, going through your statement or going through your transaction history yourself and then manually creating those budgets and sticking to it. This is just something that's helped me, and I know help others with staying accountable. And it's just a great digital tool that we use.
And I have one more question, and then I guess we'll kind of wrap it up. Is a CD a good way to save money?
Well, normally it's okay. But guess what the pandemic did? The pandemic has completely demolished deposit rates. So right now, you're not seeing anybody open a CD, not in this rate environment, because rates are so low right now. So until the Feds decide to start raising rates again, that's when the banks will start raising rates on their end. You might still see some decent rates with the credit union if you belong to a credit union. So if, by all means, CDs are very safe and secure way to save long-term because there's no risk involved. But right now the rates are very low. So your income on that CD is going to be very nominal if you do decide to do a CD. Anything else? No?
Trying to unmute again. Okay. Okay, no, that was fantastic. That was an excellent presentation. I certainly learned a lot. I think we'll have any other questions that people may have for any of our presenters, please put it in the chat and we'll get that information to you. We have a newsletter and a website for our organization that will be able to provide this information and additional information to answer any of the questions that we didn't answer. I had just one more question. Are there any resources out there in the county, say in Anne Arundel County, that provides free workshops or programs that people can just go to in the community and just get some of this information right here in the community? Does anybody know of any resources out there? you know, libraries. I think like at one time, the public library would have workshops where people can come in and get additional information about saving, you know, managing their money. So if anybody knows of anything like that, please let us know. Yeah. So excellent presentation, Soros, and this was just enlightening. I learned so much. I have a deeper understanding about managing my money. How about you guys? Anybody else will agree with me? Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So, Laura, are we able to put our presenters' information, you know, their contact information out there just in case we didn't share that, I don't think earlier.
Yes, I noticed that some of the information was located on their slides, but what we
Okay.
will do is we will make sure that we put the information in our newsletter as well as on our website,
Great.
so that everyone can have their information so that they're able to contact each presenter at their own convenience. And
Okay.
now to wrap us up, we're gonna have remarks from our very own Economic Development Co-Chair, Sora Michelle Fuller.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to commend all of our speakers, SOAR's Levita Hayes and Deetra Watley, and also Jatea Mullen. You did a phenomenal job. The information was so useful. I mean, we've heard everyone say it. I've been watching the chat. It's been on fire. Thank you so much. This is so needed in our community. And I'm really grateful that you took time out of your schedules to join us tonight. I want to thank our SOAR's Teresa Alexis Williams and also SOAR's Giselle Washington for doing a phenomenal job putting this together. It is not easy coordinating everything. And I just commend you and thank you so much for doing an awesome job. We really appreciate you. And as we move next month on December 8th, we're going to continue our journey to financial freedom, mapping the path to build wealth. And our next workshop will be focused on mindset. So Sora Levita, I heard her say that when you can change your life by changing your mind. And that's a great segue into our next month. We have two great speakers. The first one is Dr. Vicki Johnson, who is a transformational speaker. She's the author of 12 books. She's an Emmy Award winner. And she is our chapter chaplain. And she's my line sister, so I'm biased. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her. She's going to talk to us about the whole concept of mindset and focusing on your future self. And then we're going to bring back James Henson, who actually participated in our October workshop. He's coming back to talk about mindset from a financial perspective. He is the president of Henson and Associates, which is a financial services company. So he's got a great background on financial planning, and he's going to talk about how to bring that mindset to financial life, if you will. And again, Sora's just referenced our website, Economic Development, at nacacdst.org. Again, Economic Development at nacacdst.org. Please log on, check it out. We will have all of the information for our next December 8th workshop there. And without further ado, thank you so much for all of you who joined us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you on December 8th. Have a great evening.
Absolutely. Thank you.